Villages. What up, guys? Scream Reefer here, back with another episode. And I want to read another part from the Pot book. I fucking love this book. Please, if you get a chance, head down to your local head shop and pick up this book wherever you can get it or find it online. You'll learn so much about cannabis. Today I wanted to bring you the broader issues related to marijuana legalization, most notably prohibition and the dangers of it and the stupidity of it. Like, I'll just continue reading because it'll cover everything. The budgetary impacts of marijuana legalizations are not trivial. The savings of $7.7 billion per year in resources is substantial, and a net improvement in the U.S. government budget by $10 to $14 billion annually is worth achieving. Compared to the size of the U.S. economy or government, however, these are not enormous amounts. Thus, if prohibition has some non-trivial benefit and few unintended negatives, prohibition advocates could rationally argue that the budgetary benefits do not justify legalization. It is crucial, therefore, to consideration the broad range of issues involved. In fact, prohibition has minimal benefits and substantial negative side effects beyond its direct cost. Prohibition does not eliminate the market for marijuana. Instead, prohibition creates a black market. The key question for analysis of prohibition versus legalization is therefore to what degree marijuana use in this black market is less than what would occur under legalization. To address this issue, consider the effects of prohibition on the demand for and supply of marijuana. Prohibition affects the demand for marijuana in several ways. The mere existence of prohibition might reduce demand if some consumers exhibit respect for the law. The evidence suggests, however, that respect for the law exerts only a mild effect, since violation of weakly enforced laws, speeding, tax evasion, blue laws, sodomy laws, is widespread. The penalties for marijuana purchase or possession might reduce demanding by raising the effective price of marijuana use. Again, however, the evidence does not suggest a major impact given that most such penalties are mild and rarely imposed. Potentially countering any tendency for prohibition to reduce demand, prohibition might increase demand because it makes marijuana a forbidden fruit. Prohibition also affects the supply of marijuana because black market marijuana suppliers must operate in secret and attempt to avoid detection by law enforcement. They face increased costs of manufacturing, transporting, and distributing of marijuana. Conditionally, on operating in secret, however, black market suppliers face low marginal cost of evading tax laws and regulatory policies, and this partially offsets the increased cost of operating secretly. Other differences between a black market and a legal market, e.g. differences in advertising incentives or market power, have ambiguous implications for supplying costs under prohibition versus legalization. The bottom line is that prohibition probably reduces marijuana use, since the direct effects of both supply and demand suggest this outcome. Theory does not dictate that prohibition causes a large reduction in marijuana use, however, and the evidence suggests that prohibition has at most a moderate impact. Alcohol prohibition in the United States, for example, did not appear to reduce alcohol consumption dramatically. Comparisons of countries with weakly versus strongly imposed prohibitions find little evidence of higher marijuana consumption in the weak enforcement countries. Thus, the evidence does not rule out the possibility that marijuana consumption might increase, say, 25% under legalization, but no evidence suggests it would be increased by orders of magnitude. Whatever the impact of prohibition on marijuana consumption, prohibition has numerous effects beyond any direct costs of enforcement. The main ones are as follows. Increased crime and corruption. Because participants in legal markets cannot resolve disputes with non-violent mechanisms like courts and lawyers, they use guns instead. Thus, prohibition increases violent crime. By diverting criminal justice resources to prohibition enforcement, prohibition causes reduced deterrence of all kinds of crime. Because participants in a black market must either evade law enforcement authorities or pay them to look the other way, prohibition encourages corruption. Harm to marijuana users. By raising prices and creating the threat of arrest and other legal sanctions, prohibition reduces the welfare of those who use marijuana illegally. These users also spend more time trying to buy and must deal with criminals to do so. Reduced product quality. In a legal market, consumers who purchase faulty goods can punish suppliers by pursuing liability claims, by generating bad publicity, by avoiding repeat purchases, or by complaining to private or company watchdog groups. In a black market, these mechanisms for ensuring product quality are unavailable or less effective. This means product quality is lower or more certain in an underground market. Enriching criminals. In a legal market, the income generated by production and sale of marijuana is subject to taxation, and the tax revenue accrue to the government. In a black market, suppliers capture these revenues as profit. Prohibition thus enriches the segment of society most willing to evade the law. Restrictions on medical uses of marijuana. Because of prohibition, marijuana is even more tightly controlled than morphine or cocaine and cannot be used for medicinal purposes despite abundant evidence that it alleviates nausea, pain, muscle spasms, as well as symptoms of glaucoma, epilepsy, multiple sclerosis, AIDS, and migraine headaches, among other ailments. Comprise civil liberties. Because marijuana crimes involve voluntary exchange, enforcement relies on asset seizures, aggressive search tactics, and racial profiling. All of these tactics strain accepted notions of civil liberties and generate racial tension. Respect for the law. All experience to date indicates that even with substantial enforcement, prohibition fails to deter a great many persons from supplying and consuming cannabis. This fact signals users and non-users that laws are for suckers. Prohibition therefore undermines the spirit of voluntary compliance that is essential to law enforcement in a free society. Most effects of prohibition are unambiguously undesirable. The only possible exception is prohibition's large impact in reducing marijuana consumption. According to some people, marijuana use is inherently evil or promotes socially undesirable behaviors or lowers health and productivity, implying policy-induced reductions in marijuana use might be desirable. The claim that marijuana use is inherently wrong or is simply an assertion devoid of any science or reason, however, and no valid evidence supports the claim that marijuana use causes poor health, diminished productivity, or other unwanted behaviors. An alternative view is that marijuana consumption can generate negative use side effects such as traffic accidents. This view is defensible, but a better approach would be policies that target the negative behavior itself, namely laws against driving under the influence. This is exactly the current policy does regarding to alcohol. Namely laws against driving under the influence. This is exactly what current policy does regarding alcohol. A total prohibition on marijuana targets millions of otherwise law-abiding citizens whose use do not generate adverse effects for anyone. Overall, therefore, the reduction in marijuana consumption caused by prohibition is a cost rather than a benefit. That is, preventing responsible people from consuming marijuana makes them worse off. just as preventing responsible people from consuming alcohol would make them worse off. This means virtually all of Prohibition's consequences are undesirable, so it is impossible to justify any government expenditure in an attempt to implement this policy. The government expenditure utilized in the attempt to enforce marijuana prohibition is an unambiguous cost of prohibition relative to legalization. It is far from the only cost, however. Prohibition has a host of unintended negative effects that should receive at least as much consideration in evaluations of marijuana policy. Perhaps most importantly, prohibition reduces the welfare of people who can and do use marijuana with little harm to themselves and others, and who believe they receive a benefit, whether recreationally or medicinally, from marijuana use. A policy that prohibits marijuana makes no more sense than a policy that prohibits alcohol, ice cream, or driving on the highway. Each of these activities and millions of others can generate harm when conducted irresponsibly, but also has the potential to benefit the vast majority of users. This is a crucial effect of marijuana legalization that all analysis should recognize. Please spread this information, because it truly shows how stupid prohibition is. It's holding back responsible people from using it, It's turning criminals rich, people making money off the black market, when it could be a legal market, when it could be handled by professionals, where if you have a problem and there is low quality, you can tell somebody and you can find a better quality. We need to end prohibition. It's too fucking long, Over 70 years we have been dealing with prohibition. And it's time to stop, because now that we have been gathering all this information, and now that we can gather together and be strong and fight against them, we can win if we all just have this knowledge and spread it. And that's what I need you guys to do, to spread all my videos so all of you can learn, so we can finally end this bullshit. Because I know it's a dream for everybody to finally just toke legally and not have to worry about the paranoia from cops coming to bust down your door. Nobody deserves that. Nobody deserves to be thrown in jail for taking a simple fucking bong rip. Alright, hope you enjoyed the video, guys. It means a lot that you watch it. Please comment down below and give me a good like. Thanks, guys. Peace.